So let's bring in our international panel, Sky News contributor Kosha Garda and former Labor MP Michael Danby. Kosha, Michael, welcome. Let's start, if we can, with Donald Trump. Now, he's held his first major rally since he was found guilty in the hush money trial. The guilty verdict doesn't appear to have driven away any supporters. Thousands of them there. I think it was somewhere in Las Vegas, Nevada, and it was 40 degrees. Now, here he is referencing supportive comments from Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. Have a look.
He said the only thing that's going to save the world is Donald Trump has to get re-elected as president, and the whole world is going to be saved because China respected him, Russia respected him, everybody listened to him. He was the guy. He actually said he was the boss. Everybody listened. And I'll tell you, if it doesn't happen, you're headed to World War III.
He actually invoked World War III in that speech.
Look, he is leveraging words that an elected foreign leader, Viktor Orban, said, so that carries a certain degree of weight, and then Trump is going to weave that into his comments and his rallies. He does it very well. I think his teleprompter broke in that rally, reportedly, and he was able to just ad-lib for an hour.
He doesn't need a teleprompter.
And go and weave and bob, through that. I would say many people, certainly in his support base, agree with those sentiments. He famously is known as the only U.S. president in the last 40 years who didn't start a new war or a new military intervention under his watch, so I think he was just playing to that.
So he says these world leaders respect him, Michael. Is he convincing himself of that, or is it a reality?
He may be convincing himself of that, and I didn't know there were that many Hungarians in Las Vegas, but there were during the Second World War, but not now. But the one thing to be fair to him is that Germany, leading Europe, including France now, are contributing more than 2% of their GDP to defence, and they're really arming the Ukrainians to fight Russia. And that's important for us here in Australia because the Chinese, including the bloke who's visiting on the weekend, are watching like eagles whether the Americans and the rest of us stand up to Russia.
Well, we've seen a lurch to the right in Europe across the weekend with those elections. You've got President Macron now calling a snap election, warning of the rise of the far right after that swing against his own party in the European parliamentary elections. Now, it comes after Macron's Renaissance Party. I think it won 15% of the French vote compared to the right-wing National Rally, which won 32%. Kosha, what do you make of this? Is it a lurch, or it's certainly a leaning to the more centre-right or right parties?
It is. That movement definitely seems to be ascendant in Europe and really around the world. If you go back to Trump, you look at Brexit, and you look at all of these elections across up and down Europe each time, they seem to be gaining ground a little bit with that. We know the reasons, the economy, immigration, all of those things. People are looking for another party or another venue to redress their grievances, and you see that come through with these elections. Now, one point on the other side is that often it's a protest vote, voting for the European Union. You can't just copy-paste those results onto what will happen in their domestic elections, hence why maybe he called a snap election, because he doesn't necessarily believe that's going to translate domestically.
And Steve, we went through this agonising debate on asylum seekers and refugees here, and because both parties adopted a policy of, we decide who are the immigrants that come to this country.
Well, the famous
not an issue.
Quote.
Average Australians support migration if we decide who comes.
Yes.
But in Germany, France, the UK, they're going to punish the Tories because over 14 years they've done nothing about 1 million illegals coming in.
So you say migration is the big issue?
The big issue.
Cost of living and migration.
Yeah.
I mean, cost of living also is an issue for them in Europe. I mean, they're doing it just as tough as what we are. But when you see your streets full of migrants, I guess that's who you take it out on. I mean, it was a big swing against Macron, though. He's not popular. I was amazed that he would call an election 3 weeks before the Olympic flame gets lit for the Olympic Games.
It's kind of strange. All of these far-right parties, including in Germany, are being funded by Russia, though. I'd like someone to publish the swing to them and the amount of money they got from Russia on a table next to each other. So, Kosha, this result, what does it mean for Europe and the European Parliament? I mean, let's put the other elections to one side. If we've got a very different European Union makeup now, haven't we?
Yeah, so Giorgia Meloni came out with the strongest. I think her party now constitutes 30% of the strongest faction within the EU, and she obviously is of that right, further to the right of center, though many say that she actually modulated her position and came back to a little bit more moderate center-right since then. So that's just another reflection. I think it's a four times increase compared to where the EU came out in the 2019 elections.
Yep.
And that absolutely is going to come to bear as it relates to all these issues.
You wouldn't put her in the same bag, though, as Mrs. Le Pen.
No, because she moderated. And actually, a lot of people on the domestic side who are stronger and more hawkish on immigration are actually quite disappointed with Meloni because she moderated her position after she came in. But together, the two of them are certainly ascendant compared to their predecessors.